Hey everyone, welcome back. Do you have an LG washer with the OE error code that won't drain? Or do you have any front load washer that won't drain? Well, in this video I'm going to be showing you guys what to check, and if you guys need to change the drain pump out, you're going to see how to do that too. Alright, well, first things first, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to check the little drain pump. So most of these front loaders, they have a little flap down in the front where you can get access to the drain pump. I would suggest to use a wet vacuum as it's quicker and cleaner in my opinion, but you see this one has that little hose there. So essentially, if you don't have a wet vacuum, what you're going to do is get a bowl and you're going to pull that hose out, take the plug out, and drain as much water as you can through that little hose, and then unscrew the drain pump. Whereas for me, what I like to do is skip that completely and just go right for turning the vacuum on, the wet vac, cracking it open and just holding it, as you guys can see, and letting it just suck up all the water. Alright, so we finally got all the water out. You can see the drain filter there is completely clear, so that right there lets us know that it is not an obstruction. It is actually the drain pump. So of course your situation might be different. You might actually have a big clog in there, which I've seen before, and I've shown on some other videos on my channel, so check those out. But yeah, sometimes you're gonna have a giant wad of stuff obstructing the water flow, but other times this is a very common issue with this specific washer, the Kenmore, the LG, where the drain pump is actually faulty. So first things first, you're going to want to disconnect the washer from the power. Then you're going to want to take out the soap dispenser. I like to put it in the drum just because sometimes it'll leak water. Then you're going to have two screws on the back of the top. You're going to have to take those out to get the top off. You can see I dropped one there, but luckily I got my little magnetical bit. I actually like to use this little right angle 90 to help me get back there so I don't have to pull the washer out so far. And to get the top off, you just press down and push back, and then you lift up, because it essentially slides backwards, and then you can pull it off. Next, what you're going to want to do is you're going to have some screws here by the soap dispenser. Essentially, these are the longest screws. They go all the way through the faceplate into the soap dispenser housing. And then you have one here that's kind of hidden, which I used to forget about sometimes. I've done this probably almost 100 times now. This is a really common thing. Then to get that UI control off, what you're going to do is basically pull up on the top, and there's little clips that you can kind of see them there. You basically bend them upwards and pull the UI off. Then you're going to want to disconnect the cables, undo those little wire holders. I'm pointing down there because there's a screw down there which you saw me take off in the beginning of the video. Now I'm unscrewing the door lock mechanism. And these are all Phillips screws. And I was just starting to undo those top screws, but then I remembered, oh, I gotta take the door spring off, the outer spring. What you do is you get a flathead and you start to basically pry at the bottom where the spring is, and then you pull it out. Wow, look at all that water. So a lot of the time what I'll see is in these drain holes, there's three square ones, and then there's one that goes straight down. And what I do see a lot is that people with dogs or a lot of hair and stuff like that, they'll get stuff caught in these, and then you'll have standing water in the door boot like you can see there. So it's just as part of this service, I'm going ahead and cleaning this out, cleaning all these little holes out. You can see I got quite a bit. I mean, I probably got almost a handful of stuff out of here. These people had never cleaned their door boot. Honestly, it needs more TLC than what I could give it in this video, but you know, you can only do what you can do. I mean, honestly, I didn't even have to do this, but I wanted to, just because, you know, I like to fix right, and I wanted to do good by this customer, at least leave it better than I found it, you know. So that was a little side note. But anyway, what you're going to do with the door boot, you're just going to kind of peel it off. It's just sitting in a groove. Basically what I'm doing there is just inspecting to see if I see any cuts or punctures, because that's another common issue with these door boots on front loaders, is you'll have a little puncture in that rubber. Next thing what you're going to want to do is take out these screws. They essentially hold the front of the washer on. Alright, and now the front will start to fall forward because it's got nothing securing it to the housing. So I just support it with my knee, and then it's got two little things at the bottom that hold it on. You just angle it towards you and lift up and pull out. Then you got the front off. Alright, and now you can see down there we got the drain pump. There's a ton of water. A lot of it was from when I was cleaning the drain pump, but also a lot of it was from the customer, because essentially when I had got there, they said, hey, I've already cleaned that filter twice and it's still not draining. So I immediately told them, well, if you've already done that and there's no obstruction, then you've essentially got a 99% chance that it's the drain pump. But you know, I have to get all the water out anyway, so it's good for you guys to see, because sometimes it is just that. You know, I uploaded a video the other day, I believe it was a short, where these people had a bunch of dogs and they had the same issue. LG washer with that same error code, and it wouldn't drain. I took the drain pump filter out and it was completely clogged full of hair. So you really don't know until you get down there and do that. There is still a little bit of water in there, so essentially what I'm doing there is I'm squeezing that hose that goes from the bottom of the tub to the actual drain pump housing. You can see it there, the black ribbed one, because it'll still hold some water in there. And now I'm shaking it. I'm essentially just trying to get as much water out as I can, so that way I can reduce the mess even further and begin to dry this customer's floor, because they had so much stuff in there. Alright, now you can see again, I was trying to give you guys a nice little angle there just to see in there, because sometimes all the way in the back there, you'll still see stuff stuck in that rubber hose. You might see a sock, you might see change, you might see wrappers. I mean, I've seen so many things you would not believe. I've even found a pocket knife one time, like a little tiny pocket knife. So yeah, I was just vacuuming the rest of that water up and then screwing the drain pump filter back in, because it really doesn't need to be out. Okay, so now this is what you have to do. There are 3 bolts, 3 10mm bolts that hold that whole drain pump assembly. Yeah, right where the light is. It's holding it in to the chassis of the washer. So what I do, I get 2 extensions. I get my 90 and I get a 10 mil. And then you guys will see here, this is what I found is giving me best access. So you don't necessarily need this setup. You know, you could just use a basic socket set, but for me, with the, you know, because I want to be quick and efficient, this is the setup I use. So for me, I can do this in about 30 minutes, changing this drain pump on this washer, all said and done. But it wasn't that way the first time I started. I'll tell you, the first time I started, I did it with the basic ratchet set, doing it by hand, and it took a little while. So yeah, you've got 3 bolts there, which you could see. You want to take those out so then you can lift up the entire housing for the drain pump. And then next what you're going to want to do is actually disconnect because that on that side is the drain pump. On the other side you might have a recirculation pump, but actually where I'm touching is the drain pump. So you're going to want to go ahead and disconnect the power from it, and in most cases you're going to want to do what I'm about to do, where you actually are going to have to take out a few additional screws to get better access to it, because you can take the drain pump off, as you're going to see. You can get it off pretty easy. There's only about 3 screws. There's that one there in the back. Then there's that one that goes through that plastic shroud housing. And then there's the one at the top. And the thing is that it's easy to get out, right? It's pretty easy. You're going to see it's going to come out in a second here. But the difficulty is actually getting the new one in. And it's not like crazy difficult. It's just a bit more. Look at that impeller. So this is essentially what's happened to this one. The impeller has failed. It's essentially cracked and broken off of the shaft of the motor. So you could see it was just spinning freely there. And we got a genuine replacement. There's the part number if you can see. I know the light is a little bit bright, but with this lighting, it's like if I don't use the headlight, it's way too dark, you can't see anything. And then when I use the headlight, you kind of have that little bit of a hot spot. But anyway, there's the part number. I do use OEM parts whenever possible, or whenever it aligns with the customer's goals. So in this specific instance, I went ahead and used an OEM one. You can get some off of Amazon that are decent. You can get some, of course, like any aftermarket part, you can get some that are like really shabby and some that are decent. But, you know, as I've been doing this longer and longer, I've realized that, you know, paying that extra little bit to get an OEM part is going to be better for you, and it's going to be better for the customer, because it's going to last longer for them, more likely, and then you're not going to have to go back, more likely. So this is the part I was talking about with it being a little bit more difficult. So essentially, there's this metal bracket that the whole drain pump housing screws into. And in order to get that new drain pump on, you really have to basically have it perfectly aligned so that it slips at an angle into it. And what I end up usually having to do is what you're going to see, where I actually have to unscrew that metal bracket from the housing. Yep, so this is what I'm talking about. So you actually have 4 screws. You have one in the front, and then you've got 2 in the bottom. And you actually even have one in the back, which is pretty hard to get to, but I don't even do that back one anymore. I just do the front 3, or the front 1 and the bottom 2, because all you need is just that little extra bit of clearance so you can get the pump on. And I've done it before, but it's a lot quicker now that I've realized to just take those couple of screws out so that I can get it back on. And with this plastic housing, you don't necessarily need it. I just put it on just because I'm one of those people. I like things to go back as OEM as possible and like as stock as possible. So I just put it on there. Alright, so now what you're going to want to do is there's these like guides, these guide pegs and these holes that you have to line up, as well as there's those 3 screw holes which you're going to line up with the holes that are already have threads. So you're going to get all that lined up, you're going to push it in, and then you're going to start screwing these in. Now you got a pro tip here, alright? If you have a screw gun, set the choke lower than you think you need it, because I've had it before where I don't set the choke and these will just strip out, and that can cause a leak, right? If you don't have enough pressure on that, then it could cause a leak. So what I like to do is I set the choke pretty low on there. I set it about an 8, and then that way It makes sure it doesn't script those plastic screws. Yep. And that's pretty much it. I'm just going ahead and making sure I'm tightening them kind of in a star pattern. You know how you do on the wheels on your car, like anything. You know, you snug them up. You you start them, get them almost there, and then you snug them up in that star pattern. And then what I'm doing is putting those screws back in. I think on that one I even second guessed myself. I'm like, did I do it tight enough? I'm one of those people. I like to double check, triple check, just in case, because you know that extra few seconds in the moment is gonna save you a headache in the future. Alright, so now I'm basically putting it all back together. I'm going to go ahead and speed this up just so this video isn't 30 minutes long. Because I did want it to be quite detailed, but I didn't want it to be too long. So yeah, I'm going to speed it up now.
Yeah, I'm repairing the washer. What's up? Oh, no, you're good.
And so what you're going to see me do here now is essentially I'm going to disconnect this little hose and check to see if there's any dog hair in there. I find that this is a common spot for dog hair and sand and silt and all kinds of debris to get caught in. Surprisingly, in this case, there actually wasn't anything in there, which I was honestly like super surprised by, because you guys saw in the beginning of the video how much standing water there was in there. I mean, there was a little bit, but nowhere near as much as I thought there would be. So, but yeah, anyway, you know, if you're already in here, you might as well check this part too, because like I said, I found many times where this is just completely packed full of hair and sand and just all kinds of stuff. So I just thought I'd let you guys know about that and what I'm doing there. Also, a pro tip there, you're going to want to make sure you put those clamps exactly how they were. And I showed in that frame there where you could see the indentations, and you want to make sure you get it exactly lined up, because if you don't, there's a possibility it could leak, because the rubber's already been impressed with that clamp. So you want to get it lined up exactly where it was. Alright, so what I'm doing now is I'm basically getting the outer portion of that door boot to seat back on the front panel of this washer. There's a metal lip, and you want to go ahead and get it to sit back in there, so you can kind of see it's almost like a reverse peeling. And to put on this spring, there's a little indentation at the bottom of the metal where you're going to want to have that spring situated. There's a tool on Amazon which you can get, but what I do is I go ahead and I just put my knee on one side of the spring, and then I take a little flathead and I pull and open up the spring while my other hand guides it into the channel. And then I pull on that whole rubber door boot to make sure it's in there good. Alright, so now that I got it all back together, I'm going to go ahead and test it out. I'm putting it in test mode. You hold spin speed, soil level, and the power button, and then that gets it into test mode, and then you press the play pause button to make it go through each step. So I'm filling it with water, I'm letting it agitate, and then I'm going to drain it out. As you can hear, it's draining strong. Hey, I hope this video helped you. Thanks for watching, and a shout out to my new subscribers. I appreciate you. I'll see you in the next one. Later.